All right, here's just a quick tutorial today, guys. We're gonna do the grout work. Take one bag, always use the whole bag, okay? It just avoids a whole lot of problems. And for the purpose of this Caracolor, and read your instructions on the back because every product's different. It's 2 fingers of water in the bottom of a pail. That's it, nice and simple, okay? And you may like it a little thinner or a little thicker than that, and it's completely subjective. Just remember, the thicker the paste that you're applying on the wall, the less shrinkage you're gonna get, right? And when you're dealing with vertical surfaces, it's kind of nice to have it a little pasty so that it's not just flopping all over the place and making a mess. Alrighty, now we take our mixer blade. We use a square mixer blade so we don't get clumps in the corners and the bottom of the pail. And we go really slow so we're not introducing air. The faster you whip, the more air you're gonna pull into this mix, the more trouble you're gonna have while you're applying your grout. All right. And like most products when we're mixing, always let it sit for about 3 to 5 minutes before you start using it. That'll be your setup time. So it'll go from a thin paste to something a little thicker that'll adhere to the wall easy so you can work clean. So basically all you need to do this is a regular pail. You wanna use a rubber grout float. Okay, get the thick ones, not the thin ones. And make sure it's for regular grout, not epoxy, all right? Just read the labels. And buy a couple of sponges, okay? These are real common in the building center. They do a great job of removing grout haze and taking extra material off and polishing up your grout edges. And then of course, a second pail with water in it so that we can clean. And I like to have a piece of plywood or cardboard or something on the ground, just so that when you're working, if a blob falls, in this scenario, like I'm gonna grout the floor next, but it's a different product. So I don't want to fill up grout lines with this and then have to spend my time cleaning it out. The secret is all about keeping clean. All right. Moving that grout all over the surface. And then once you've got it distributed, something that's not going to be messy, you can work on your angle to fill all the gaps in. Okay? And you can work in either direction, up and down. It doesn't make a difference. It's just about getting things filled. Hold the float on a 45 and apply it on a 45-degree angle. Not that tricky, is it? There we go. And in a few minutes, this will stiffen up and we won't have that mess going on, but okay. Generally speaking, you want to start on one side of the room, work your way around in an orderly fashion so that you can wipe it off in the same manner so that all the grout that you clean has had the same amount of time on the wall. So you're not forgetting something that went on first and then removing that last. Run the risk of it stiffening up too much. Then you can't polish a nice edge. There we go. All right. Now this has got texture. So when I'm done, I'm actually wiping it off the wall as well. That'll reduce the amount of time that I spend cleaning. There we go. Okay. That didn't work worth a shit, did it? Wow. Hang on a second, dude. All right. Okay. There we go. That actually is thickening up a lot nicer. Okay. Now in this case, I'm actually installing a vanity. It's going to be 48 inches, I think. So I don't need to have grout on the wall, but I always like to grout the entire surface in case somebody comes along and wants to change the product. What if they want to change the vanity and have open shelving, right? So just consider, for the extra minute it takes, it's nice to think of everybody down the road a little bit in this business. You see how nice and thick that is now? I was going to say it gives you a lot of control, but there we go. Okay. And you're applying it, pushing it up. It's always a lot cleaner than if you apply it pushing down. It'll just bunch up on your float and head for the floor. All right, there we go. Now here's an interesting section. We're changing materials from tile to wallpaper. Okay, so I'm going to finish with silicone. So I don't need to fill that gap. All right. And remember, if you're going to grout, it's always easier if your wall surface is washable. So consider buying a high quality bathroom paint that's got 100% acrylic paint. Oh, I just got a couple more grout lines here, bud. There we go. Now I know this is a quick tutorial on how to tile a wall, but the truth is we're on a bigger project. If you haven't been joining along, I'm renovating a 1,400 square foot double wide trailer. Just because I wanted to tackle all the challenges that people in my membership are talking about. And I didn't have any experience working on one of these, so I wanted to find out for myself what were the challenges. And boy, were there a few. So if you haven't done so yet, consider hitting the subscribe button or join our membership, and you too can have access to ask me questions, to get information, and we can join with you in the live chats. Yep. A finger makes a very good grout float. Now this particular grout has a really nice long working time, so I'm going to leave it in the pail until I'm done in case I expose an air bubble. All right. And the first thing I'm going to do, wash my tool. One of these will last you years if you take good care of it. And if you don't wash it, it's garbage by the next morning. That you can bank on. There's no saving one of these after the fact. Okay? Depending on how thick your grout was that you mixed up, you might need to let this sit for 10 or 20 minutes. I'm just going to give it a little bit of light pressure and see that it's still got some resistance. So that's good. So I know that I'm going to have to give it a couple of wipes. That means I'm going to control it and buff my lines without taking all the grout out of the lines. All right, so this is a really good look here. So this one's buffed. You can see the edge faded nice along this little bevel, okay? And over here it's filled in from the top of the ridge to the top of the ridge. Simply by passing the sponge over it, gently, it goes from the bevel to the bevel. Okay? There we go. Always go on an angle, 45, straight up and down, whatever it takes. Don't ever wash in the same direction as the grout. You will wipe it all out. If you got a gap, you just finger it in. There we go. that's the basics of this. All right. That's how you wash it. Wring it out, and then just keep on buffing. We're not worried about the little bit of haze on the wall. There will be a second wash. We'll take care of that then. This is just to get the majority of the product off the surface and to fix the contour of those grout lines so that they're polished in place and not just build up in place. All right, guys, so the way you work this, bring out your sponge. The water shouldn't fall off the sponge, okay? Just enough that you press it against the wall, do 3 or 4 feet, lift, flip it over, do another run. That's it. Now you gotta wash. Submerge it, and you squeeze it out. This picks up all that extra residue on that tile. Once you get more than 3 or 4 feet, you're just pushing the dirt around. You're not picking it up anymore. All right, and you can come down here, finish the bottom. Now, the reason you have this wrung out, we're not trying to introduce new water to this. We're trying to remove excess grout on the surface. And we want to do the same motion every wipe so that every grout line is subjected to the same amount of exposure to the water and is treated equally. And that will result in your grout lines all being the same color. You can overwash. So if at this point you go, oh, I don't like how that looks, and you start rubbing with a sponge, that part of the grout is going to get completely washed away of all of the colorant, and then you're in trouble. So when you're polishing, you polish. When you're washing, you wash. When you wipe, you wipe. You don't go back and forth with those three processes. If you're not happy with something, wait till you're done your wash, and then go and remove that section of grout, go back to your pail, and then apply a new section, okay? And then you can buff that in then. But don't try to go backwards in the process in the middle of another one. Stay methodical and you'll be successful too. So one of the most common questions I get about grouting is, what do you do with this when it's left over? And what I tell people is, if you clean out the bottom and the middle, right to one side of the pail, okay, like this, there. Now, you let that dry up overnight. It'll set up like a rock, okay? And then all we do the next day is we put the pail on the side, all right? And we push on it and we roll it. It all just pops right off the plastic, okay? And then you've got a brand new clean pail again. And this was the pail that was used to clean the grout. And people say, well, what do you do with this water? I don't want to pour that on my grass, it's acidic. And I don't want to pour that down my drain because it's cement, basically. Correct. So what you do is you let it sit overnight. Look how clean that water is now. You can pour that down your toilet. No problem. Okay? And what are you left with? Now that's something. Again, once you poured all the water out, you can let that sit overnight and you can pop it out. Or you can just get in there with a spatula. Okay, see? Now let that sit overnight. And when it's dry, it again will pop right off the plastic and you've got another good pail again. All right? Don't pour fresh cement products down your drains, people, and keep it out of your grass. If you throw it down your driveway or in the street, it's going to stain the asphalt or your concrete. So that's the secret. You let your products sit overnight, they'll separate. You can pour the water out the next day and let it dry again. Yeah, you're going to need a couple extra pails, but the good news is you'll always get them back. Cheers. So now I've shown you how to do the grout on the wall with the regular Cara color. I've showed you how to use the ultra color and how to use it in more of a floor leveler technique. okay? And then basically that one was all about how to sponge it off, how to move the product around. Trusting that it's gonna set up without shrinking too much, and it does. At the end of the video here, we'll have nice close-up pan shots of all the different products, okay? So you can have a good look at what the end looks like. Now we're gonna do the floor of the bathroom. Same product, Ultra Color. Same color, totally different technique. And I'll tell you why. Because if you're using a small space, you can do this, okay? You can take a little bit of water and a little bit of powder, and you can actually hand mix. And then see how the powder sits in the middle and the water is floating around it. So for hand mixing, this is without the machine, right? And the purpose of this is for you to get an idea of how much energy it takes for you to mix the two together. They don't like each other at the beginning, okay? You really got to work it in. Now this is great if you don't have a drill, okay? Or if you just want to prevent adding air into the mix. Just use a stick like this or an old piece of 1x2. Okay. You should be able to get a pretty consistent colorant and texture with this product because it doesn't have any sand in it. Okay? Well, it has a little bit of sand. It's a really minor amount. It's not like sanded grout. It has a little bit of sand, so it helps it stand up for those half-inch gaps. And just a little bit of working time, you can get this product pretty consistent and smooth. No high speeds. Really helps prolong the pot life of that before it'll be garbage, okay? Now, got to give it a couple minutes to set up. While we're doing that, we're gonna go wash the floor, and then I can start applying that right away. Again, washing the floor, we're looking for thin set residue. And that is a couple weeks old now. Woo. Just dirt and debris that you don't want to have trapped in your grout line. So before I mix my grout, I always take my vacuum and I go along all my grout lines, get all the debris, loose hair, garbage from the construction site, all that business. Really just want to make sure you have as clean a surface to work with as you can. The less garbage you trap in your grout lines, the easier the whole process is going to be. Okay? Always work with your ass pointed towards the door. That'll speed everything up for you. Inevitably, your knee pads will also be dirty. So you spend half your time cleaning up the mess that they make. Okay? And this should take that 3 to 5 minutes for your product to set up, and then we're good to go. Okay, so this room is a rectangle. The door's in the middle on that wall. So I want to grout this side, grout the other side, and then grout from the back wall on my way out of the room. Constantly washing where I go, knowing that my knee pads and my feet are probably dirty, so I don't want to get the area contaminated. So I'm trying to minimize what I'm doing. I poured half the material onto my floor here, okay? And it's still a little loose. Probably could use a little more setup time. That's fine, okay? We're gonna use our grout float, 45-degree angles. Same concepts as every other time we grout, like with regular grout. 45 to press it, okay? Push it around. Don't move your knees around. Just move the material. Now, if you know, for instance, that you're going to be adding baseboards afterwards, which if you're a renovator, it's really nice to do that. Okay, you get a great look. Then you don't have to be as picky up against the corners. Here we go. Okay. Now, I mixed a half a bag of this product. Yeah. Probably more product than I need. And that's fine. I'd rather have more than not enough. If you're not sure, you can read the label on the back of the bag. They usually have a chart that tells you how much product for a different size tile and different size grout line. Give you an idea of how much you're gonna have to make. Okay. Remembering that this isn't about perfection. This is just about getting it in the cracks. Okay. There we go. And then we're gonna let it set up. So this is a little thicker than the last batch I put in the other floor. And there's a reason for it. And that is, when this does set up, you really want to be ready to wash it right away. Remember, for prolonging the working time, use cold water in your mix. If you're in a hurry and you're doing a patch, then by all means use the warm water. If you use warm water, you can pretty much forego the whole waiting 3 to 5 minutes as the rule for before you start applying the product, okay? If you mix this like a paste, like the wall, you are in for deep trouble. I'll tell you right now, it just sets up too darn quick. And you only have to push it where it needs to go. There's no reason to get it all over all the tile, okay? There we go. All right, now, I gotta change my position, put more material in front of me, and then I'm gonna start working my way out of the room. But I'm also going to walk out of the room first, grab my sponge and my pail, and wipe this area that I've been working from again, just to get more of that debris out of the way. I didn't get enough material there. Okay, I gotta wash the floor one more time before I can move back. See how filthy that gets? Just by kneeling there for 2 seconds, right? All right. This time I'm not gonna go onto the tile, okay? I'm just gonna play with the mud. So I'm just going to set this aside here on my tile. We're going to give this about 5 minutes to set up. We're going to come back and check for some air pockets, do a little wiping. I'm going to have to take the knee pads off for this one because I don't want to get dirt out there. And then go out there without my shoes on, with my stocking feet. You have to have a rule. Nothing comes past this door when you're working on a floor that can be bringing dirt into the room. Having a little bit of construction paper or a piece of cardboard helps. Just try not to put your toes or your feet in the grout lines. Large format tile makes that easy, okay? I'm just looking for imperfections that I want to fix. Knowing that the outside perimeter is going to get silicone on the edge, baseboard on the other sides. Not worried about any of that. Just checking for places where, here, see that? The material filled up the grout line and then sank because there was obviously a cavity underneath that needed to be filled. Okay. Nice and full. Vanity goes all back through there, nobody cares. Tub goes all over there, nobody cares. Now, with my extra material, I'm actually going to send it all into that far corner. This floor is very unique. Because this house is so out of square that I had to make a decision when I put the tile down. Do I want the tile to be up against the wall, right? Nice. And then not square with the shower? Or do I want straight off the shower and then, or do I want to have little cuts all around the room? I said, forget it. I just built a build-out base so that I can put a baseboard in front of it to close that natural occurring gap. Now I'm going to push all this over there because in that very far corner, I'm going to probably see a little bit of grout line. Okay. Here we go. There we are. So if I'm going to get a grout line, I want to have a nice one. Now that's something that I can manage just fine. All right. There we go. There we go. Extra product in here, why not? All right. Now I'm good to go. Now I'm comfortable. I got all my base is set here. Gaps are filled. I'm gonna peel this back a little bit and have a double check here. Yeah, figures I would do that. Second, that out of the way. Figured where the paper was, it soaked up some of the grout. That's okay. I have more grout. I also don't have any dirt on that floor. The key is, when I do go to wash this, I want to go in a position where I'm going to wash in front of the door first. And that makes it tricky, right? Because when you're washing, you want to be able to wash where you started. But because this is a chemical dry, it's all going to be in the same condition. So it isn't going to matter where I started. There we go. Now everything's laughing. All right. So we give this about 10 minutes and then we wash. There's no time to waste. In the meantime, I'm going to clean my tools and then keep an eye on that, and I'll give it a test wipe over behind the toilet there, where it'll be inconspicuous if I do any damage. Just by washing the inside of the tile, and not the grout area, you can get a feeling for how solid it is setting up, right? So you can get an idea. As soon as it starts to offer you some resistance, then you know it's time to get in there and give it a good polish. But right now it's just wiping clean off, so no resistance in that yet. We'll give it a few more minutes. This crap is just not forgiving at all.